Hi, I'm Jonathan, and welcome back to Season 2 of First Last Everything, a podcast where I chat to guests about their relationship to technology through their first love, last obsessions, and the piece of tech that meant everything to them. Each item a guest brings to the show can be anything from a piece of software to a computer to a weird gadget to that first camera. Pretty much anything goes. I've got some great guests coming up this season, but before we dip into my chat with this week's guest, I wanted to mention something new I created. It's a new kind of tracking app, and I hope you'll check it out. The Slate is a unique and easy way to keep track of upcoming movie and TV projects from your favourite actors, writers, directors, and producers. Simply add them to your favourites and see their upcoming work listed in your own personal project slate. There's a link in the show notes to download it. Okay, on with the podcast. This time I'm joined by Becca Farsace. Becca is an Emmy and Webby award-winning tech creator. She was formerly the senior video producer at The Verge before going solo in 2024, primarily via her self-titled YouTube channel, where she aims to, quote, take tech outside. Becca brings such great vibes to everything she creates, so I was really excited to get to talk to her, and she didn't disappoint. So, First Last Everything with Becca Farsace. Let's go. Becca, it's great to have you on the podcast. Fun fact, you were the first on my list of guests when I started making a list for this podcast. So I'm genuinely really pleased to have you on.
I'm honored. Oh my gosh. And number one, love being first. That's so cool. And number two, you love checking the first thing off of your list. So
exactly.
Yeah, double whammy. Well, thanks for having me.
We'll get into this later, but I think the reason why is because I love your stuff, but also when I started thinking about this podcast, that was about the time when you went solo. So I think that's what inspired me to be like, oh, got to get Becca on the podcast. Fantastic. So great to have you.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, and you emailed me many moons ago, and I'm so glad that we are finally connecting during the busiest time of the year, which is really incredible.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're a very busy person, as I've learned. Anyone sees your videos, I'm sure knows, but you're always very busy. So yeah, great to speak to you.
Is that what comes across? It's just like Becca's busy. That's
yeah. You always seem to be traveling as well. That's one thing.
I am endlessly in motion. A blessing and a curse, double-edged sword for sure.
Yeah, well, it all looks great. It looks great fun. So I always ask my guests first about their relationship to technology. But it seems that you are maybe proud to have a good relationship. Would I be right in thinking that?
I do have a great relationship with tech, because I believe it is an incredibly powerful tool that I can use for good. Increasingly, I do see the negative side of it, but I try to understand that and give that some space and time, but not let it put my excitement and love for tech, not to diminish any of that.
Yeah, sure. Okay, well, let's dive straight in with your first pick. Which is the first bit of tech that inspired you. What do you have for us?
Oh, I forgot that I have it in my car. I actually have the first one. I believe I said the first gen iPod Touch. I think it was the first gen. Yeah. And I got it for Christmas, and I just totally fell in love with it. I felt like I was really living in the future at that time. Here's this thing with no keyboard and this big screen, and it can save all of this music, and you could play games on it, and you can download this app that makes it look like you're drinking a beer. And I just thought it was the coolest, most forward thing I'd ever held. And I would pretend that it was like a phone, and I'd hold it up to my ear, and I adored it. I'd stay up late. I had a loft bed, so it was like a bunk bed without the bottom bunk. Yeah. And I'd climb up into my loft bed, and at night I would just play the bubble popping game, and it just felt so cool. It felt like a portal into the future, and it was really, yeah, kind of what inspired me to keep loving tech and to fall deeper in love with it.
Yeah, those days with the new apps were pretty incredible days. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, simple. We were so easy to please.
Yes, we were. I looking up about the iPod Touch, I didn't actually realize, but it only came out 3 months after the iPhone, the original iPhone. So, which was really shocked to me. It was in 2007,
It was
September.
2007.
Yeah, which is not long after the iPhone. I wonder
Yeah.
what was it about that appealed to you about the iPod Touch, maybe over the iPhone instead?
Yeah. Well, I was only in seventh grade.
Ah,
Uh,
there you go.
so I'm a bit I'm on the younger side. I'm 31 now, but yeah, I was only in seventh grade, and so I there was no way I was getting an iPhone.
Right.
So I got the next best thing for Christmas, which was, the iPod. I think at the time I had like a really crappy little flip phone or something, and that was like I wasn't dreaming bigger than that, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah, sure. And what other things did you have on the iPod Touch? You said you had some games. Were you doing loading like movies and TV shows, music videos, and things like that as well?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I could go get it, and it has all of the original. Like I haven't changed it since then. Um, I found it, I don't know, a couple, like 2 years ago in my mom's basement. And I drive an old car, a 2012, that loves iPods. Like you can plug an iPod into it and like the like logo from my car comes up on the iPod screen. And like when you connect a phone, my car thinks it's an iPod. Like my car just loves iPods. So I started collecting old iPods, which included finding my old iPod Touch. So now it
Yeah.
lives in my car and I plug it in and I listen to the music that I was listening to at the time. But to answer your question, I had a lot of music on there. There's also a YouTube app. It was like the year that YouTube launched. So I'd watch, really old, crappy YouTube videos on it. Well, they were amazing at the time.
Yeah.
And they're still amazing now. I
Yeah,
take that
yeah.
all back.
True.
Um, and then I guess I would play games. Yeah, I mean, I think now we look at our tech and it's like, oh, I can do 1,000 things on my phone. But back then you could do like 10 things, not even that well, but it was way more than enough. And so I
Mm,
think that was just about it. It was pretty much a media player.
yeah. I remember I went backpacking like probably about 2009, I think it was, and I had an iPod Touch with me, and the idea that I could just I was on the go. I was like traveling the world, and I was watching videos and listening to music, and then if I hit a Wi-Fi spot, I could go on the internet. Like I could go on the internet. It was incredible.
Yeah.
We just take that for granted now, don't we? Really. So it did have that
Yeah.
incredible feeling back then. Something new.
I found an iPod Nano. Again, my car is full of iPods. I have like so many different kinds
Mm.
in the glove compartment. And I just find them on the street and stuff. I was living in Brooklyn at one point, and people just leave them out on the stoop for you to take. And one of them has like Grey's Anatomy in its entirety downloaded, and you play it back, and it is like the tiniest little screen, and the quality is like not even 1080. It can't be 1080. And I used to think that was amazing. I used to watch
Yeah.
entire TV shows like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I had Flight of the Concords when I was traveling. That was like the show that I had on it. It was so tiny, but I still loved it.
That
Yeah.
was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
so you've got a real affinity with iPods. You did a video not long ago where you were using the iPod Nano as a camera. Yeah. What is it about the iPod that just really sort of speaks to you?
I just think, it was so small. Truthfully, like I think that's what it was. There's like Zunes and other MP3 players, but the iPod was so small, so sleek, so colorful, great marketing. And like,
Mm.
you put a ribbon around all of that and you have the makings for awe, and I totally was in awe with it. But the iPod Nano video actually sprouted in an interesting way. While I was still at The Verge, I've always been a collector of cameras. And I had this idea for a series that I wanted to do for myself, but, if and when the time came when I went independent, called Strange Cameras in Strange Places. And the idea was to find weird cameras and then take them to weird places. And I've since tried to do this, and it's like a very hard concept to put into practice because like you show up to a strange place and you don't know what to expect, and then you're using this strange camera and there's just too many variables.
Mm.
But at the time I started collecting strange cameras. And the 5th gen iPod Nano was the only iPod Nano, I believe, please correct me if I'm wrong, that had this camera. and you could only take video with it. You could not take photos, which is kind of a funny flip on typically what happens with cameras. And yeah, I bought it and I just started like filming my friends with it. And then I realized it has like the most amazing camcorder look without being camcorder bulk or having to put mini DV tapes in or transfer footage, manually. And yeah, I sort of fell in love with it. So then when I did go independent, I wasn't invited to the Apple event, and I still have not been invited to the Apple event, hopefully one day. And so everyone else had all their iPhones and they were doing all this iPhone coverage. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to talk about a different camera that exists in an Apple product. And that's when I pulled out the iPod Nano, the 5th gen iPod Nano, and made a video about it and how I loved its camera. And it really resonated with folks. I also tied it to this idea of moving upstate and, kind of getting away from technology and people and using this older form of an Apple product. Yeah, it's great. I watch that video now, and it's such a time and a place for me. So
yeah, it's a great video.
Thank you.
So I think while you do review like a lot of different tech products, I think it's fair to say that your main love affair is with photography and videography. And where did that all start for you?
Yeah. So when you asked like the first tech product that inspired me, my first idea was like to go with a camera, but that was too obvious. So I went with the iPod. I've just always been surrounded by cameras. I've, in a good way, in the way that like we just had them growing up. And, I'm a very visual person. Like I truthfully do not read words. They might as well just be like blocks of color. And so camera was always a way that I learned and like retained learning in my life. I was the kid that made the video instead of writing the paper. And so yeah, I've just always been in love with them. I went to film school. My first job out of film school was like servicing cameras. And so it's just been something that has always been in my life. Yeah. And I love them now. I think something that I feel towards them is increasingly, it's like if you own a camera, you must be a photographer, because why would you own this secondary thing that like your phone already has? And I disagree with that. I consider myself more a documentarian. I believe that we all can be documentarians, and owning a camera is a way to preserve life. And of course, there are photographers who take beautiful images that are in museums and in magazines and all of that, and it's wonderful. But I consider myself more of the documentarian type. I'm capturing life, preserving life, and sharing life with this device.
Yeah, I think like on using our phones for photography is more of an enabler than a sort of this is how you do it if you're not a professional. Really, it doesn't mean that you can't have one of the traditional cameras if you don't want to. You should be able to do it each way you want.
Absolutely. And I mean, like, I obviously use my phone to capture the most amount of my life, but like holding a slab does not inspire me, you know? And of course there's many like add-ons you can add on to this thing to make it feel like a camera, but there's something about like a traditional camera and the way it feels in your hand that inspires me to use it more and then use it in a different way.
So talking about like inspirations, one of your other main inspiration is just being outdoors. Like your channel is subtitled "Taking Tech Outside." So, like, where did you grow up, and how did sort of being outdoor? Where did this outdoorsness come from you?
Yeah, so I grew up in a suburb of Rochester, New York, called Webster, New York. Shout out Webster Thomas and Webster, New York. And it's on, we have these big lakes called the Great Lakes here in the U.S. And they're massive. Like you can't see the other side of them. And Rochester is on one of them. So I grew up on a lake and then also surrounded by just like trees and paths and dirt and all four seasons. And so I've just always been one with nature, but I also found in being a visual person that the way I learned was to be out in the world, that I had available to me outside my door was, suburbia and woods and lakes. And so I've always just felt at home out in nature. I like the stillness of it. I like the way it changes with the seasons. I like animals. I like the way it can make you feel so at peace. It can make you feel so scared. And it can also, I mean, literally just ground you. You know, it's something that's real and tangible and growing and changing right in front of you. And I love all those things about it. So it's just always been a part of me. And now I get to take tech out into it and make silly little videos. And it's awesome. I mean, this is the dream, really.
It sounds like it.
But the take tech outside bit, there's like two meanings to it. It's like literally taking tech out into the woods, but it's also in reaction to 90% of tech YouTube existing in someone's studio, which is not where our tech actually exists in our life. And so I wanted to do something different in the tech space. I wanted to say, I take tech out. We are in the real world with it. And so it's a double meaning, really.
Yeah. No, I think that definitely comes across in what you produce.
Sick.
When did you start in your life? When did you start taking tech outside yourself? Like, when did you start maybe photographing nature or the outdoors or things like that? Can you remember how far back that goes?
Yeah, great question. I mean, like I said, I've always just been outside. So as soon as I had a camera, we were outside with it.
Yeah.
You know?
What age was that? Can you remember your first camera?
Oh, man. Well, I know that when I turned 13, I got my own DV camera. And my parents wrote in the card for my birthday, they're like, you know, don't forget us when you're famous or something, which is so sweet. And I wish I could find that card today. Yeah. And so that was when I got my very first, like, my camera. But, like, you know, back then we shared tech, right? So we had, like, the family camera, and my dad and my mom were both, like, big on, like, taking photos and videos. And so there was just always, like, a VHS camera or a mini DV camera or a Kodak camera around, always. So it's just been with me forever. And I have all of those cameras. I have all of my cameras from my childhood. My parents, when they were getting rid of them, I was like, no, give it to me.
Yeah, that's so cool that you seem to have, like, all the sort of tech that you've owned and used in your lifetime. I have my first iPod, which was like a second generation iPod, but everything else I don't. Oh, and I've got my first iMac as well. But everything else, like, I sold on to get the next one, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And now I kind of regret that in a little way, because I feel that some of the especially the earlier iPods, I would have loved to have still had now, just for their design aesthetic and just to put them up on the shelf.
Yeah. Well, the good news is you can get them incredibly cheap on eBay.
Yeah, you can,
but
it's
yours.
It's not mine, and often they're kind of a bit damaged, or to get, like, good quality ones, can be a bit expensive. But yeah, it is great that you've kept them though.
Well, it's a pro and a con. I mean, like, I'm a pack rat. Like, I just have a lot of stuff, which stinks, especially when you need to move. But I also, like, you'll notice in my videos, like, I like texture. I like physically filming stuff. I rarely use any sort of graphics because I'm bad at making them mostly, but also because I just have so much stuff in my life to pull from and to use, like old photography magazines, old cameras, and I love that. I, like, when I'm, you know, thinking about something, I'm like, oh, I can go get this magazine and I can cut this page out and fold it into this weird way. And, you know, doing a tactile thing inspires me and gets me creating. So yeah, it all kind of folds into itself. But I also have closets overflowing with cameras that are mostly broken. So, you know, there's pro and a con here.
Exactly. So to jump forward a bit to when you first started at The Verge, like, how did you come to start at The Verge? When was that inception?
So I went to film school, and while I was there, I was working in the camera rental and return area, and I met this person, Kenya Scott. Shout out to Kenya Scott. I wouldn't be here without her. And she went on to work at Vox Media, which is the parent company of The Verge. And she was doing a similar thing, you know, servicing their gear, giving it to their shooters. At the time, Vox was really upping their video game. This is about the time that Vox Video took off, you know, the famous YouTube channel. And so they needed an extra hand in the equipment room. So before I even graduated college, I started working part-time at Fox Media in the equipment room with Kenya. And I did that for about a year and a half after I'd graduated college. And the whole time I was like, I love cameras, but I want to be using them. Like, I am done fixing all of these cameras that all of these shooters break. And I'm done watching all of these shooters go all around the world creating great stories. I want to do that. And so I just started networking hard at Vox Media. And I thought, any website that Vox owns that wants to hire me, I will like devote myself to. And secretly, I really wanted to work for the architecture wing, Curbed.
Wow, okay.
Because Curbed got to go, like, I've always loved, you know, the outdoors and buildings and like physical things. And Curbed got to go to the coolest places. You know, they got to go to mansions and villas, and just travel the world looking at cool architecture. And I wanted to work with them so bad, but they were a super small team, and they had this shooter, Justin, who was incredible. And they just weren't hiring. And one day, this guy, Mark Linsangen, who's also still in tech, hey, Mark L., who worked for The Verge, was picking up gear, and he said, Becca, we're hiring somebody. You should apply. And I was like, yeah, I guess I, know tech. And I don't know, it had never been front of mind that I was a techie person, but I inherently always was. And so I applied, and I barely knew anything about Adobe Premiere. And I was like decent at shooting, but like had never really crafted a YouTube video before. And they hired me. I still don't know why, but they did. They saw something in me that I didn't. And so I started working there, and I just worked my way up. There came a point when it was really hard to work with editorial folks, like writers, because they were always so busy. And I thought I could make these videos. And so I just started hosting videos and honing my craft, really. And then it kind of got to a point when I didn't have any mentors above me. And I felt like I had learned what I could learn at The Verge, and it was time to jump and do it for myself.
Yeah. That was, you talked about when you moved away from The Verge and started your own channel. There's a really great video that you posted about that decision. And part of that was sort of triggered by COVID. Everyone sort of went home. And you had to do things at home. What did you find initially were the big challenges that you had to overcome with doing all this video content at home, other than like people not being there? Like, what were you personally making the videos? What was the challenges that you came across?
I would say that the biggest challenges were learning how to film myself. Self-portraiture is hard, and like framing shots is hard. And, at The Verge, the style was always like shots are always kind of in motion. And when you're filming yourself, it's like, unless you get an electric slider, you can't really get that motion. So it's like, how can I bring motion in either the story sense or the physical sense to these videos when it's just like me and a tripod? And so that was a big challenge. I think the other thing is like, at The Verge, I worked with like my very best friends, folks that I am still very good friends with now. And not having them behind the camera to encourage me or say like, do it one more time, don't give up, give it a little more of this, give it a little more of that, was hard as well. So those two challenges. But in time, you just get over all of that, right? I'm a freight train. I'll just keep going until I find a way to make it work.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's dive into your second pick, which is the piece of tech that your last piece of tech, which is the one that's been sort of inspiring you more recently. You chose projectors, and
oh my god,
you picked out two specifically. Do you want to talk a bit about them? What makes them stand out?
Yeah, and I need to preface this with my love of projectors started as a brand deal. Like, right. I was, now I'm an independent creator, and a large part of my business is taking on brand deals, which manifest as, commercials basically in my content. And this company actually approached me wanting to know if I, wanted to rep one of their projectors. And I'm big on repping things that I actually use and try. So I had them send it to me. Let me try it out. Let me see how it goes. Oh my God, dude, it's so good. Projectors are incredible. Like, instantly just like found its way into my everyday life. I'm a big content watcher. Obviously, I make it, I watch it. And yeah, projectors have fully replaced our TVs. When we have bonfires, we set up movie nights. Like it is the way to watch TV. And again, I need to preface this started with a brand deal. Like, so, in a big way, I was paid to rep this, but like, truthfully, the best change in my tech life this year.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure your contract wasn't to keep repping them, so I think this is we know this is genuine. What?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. One thing I've always thought about projectors, which is I guess kind of put me off, maybe even considering them, has been I've always thought that the picture would be kind of washed out. Is that sort of improved a lot more these days?
Yeah, I tell people that, even and I think all of us have this idea of projectors as they were in like 2010 when we like had to use them in college or something. And they were just like crappy and you could never really see anything on them. And then they have these big loud fans and they don't have speakers and you can never get them to connect to anything. And they're like as bad as printers, right?
Right, yeah.
Holy cow, we've come so far. Yeah, I'm in my next video, I have another like deal with this projector company, and their newest projector, like our living room, I keep the windows open, it gets light all day, and everyone was always like, oh, you can't watch TV during the day. But you can, like, this stuff is so bright. Yeah, I don't know. You just got to go try one for yourself.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say. Because I feel like a salesman right now, and I don't. It's so silly. But yeah, and then oh god, I could go on and on. But yeah, it's just totally. And now I like want to host movie nights, and I'm like I like sports. I can watch any sport and get into it. But I'm so excited for the Super Bowl just because I like want everyone to come over and stare at my projector with me.
It's nice you're proud of your tech. I think that's like what a lot of us kind of techies and us nerds like, is being proud of something some tech that we have and then showing everyone about why it's so cool.
Yeah, I'll never forget. I think I could definitely share this story. So, well, I'll just leave names out. So there was someone at the Verge who loved like audio gear, and one time we went to his house to like film a video, and he made us all one by one stand in a very specific part of his living room to listen to his speakers, because that specific spot in the living room was the perfect place to hear the like pitch and this and that. And, I stood there and I was like, oh yeah, this does sound good. But like watching him facilitate this was the most beautiful thing,
Yeah, it is great. I know I do that sort of thing. I'm probably not aware of it, but it's that when you get a new device, you want to show someone do that, or you get mixed results from people about, and it's almost kind of disappointing when someone doesn't have the same reaction that you do about something that you love so much.
I mean, that is in essence my videos, right? It's like, look at this thing that I love so much and look at all the ways I use it, and it's so cool that there's an audience for that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the Mogo 4, which is one of the projectors you mentioned before, is like, I kind of just want that for the vibes. Like the design of that is so cool, like the orange hints they've got on it, and I think it's even won some design awards as well. I kind of even want to just have it for that, really.
Yeah, and it's got these cool magnetic like how do I say this? It's got these cool magnetic attachments that refract the light in different ways. So you can use it as just like an ambient light, and it will kind of like create soft, gentle wave sort of movements. So I've done that like during parties and stuff. And it also has a decent speaker. So
oh, nice.
yeah,
Okay, yeah.
But that's the one we use by the bonfire the most because it's got a pretty kicking battery and yeah, good speakers.
Yeah, that sounds good. It's I find it interesting how the angle that they're kind of taking is to make it a lot more approachable, and a lot of projector brands are to make it a lot more approachable, a lot easier to use as a product, and how a lot of people talk about the Vision Pro as being this like, oh, it's like this big screen you can have on your face to watch movies, yet projectors are also a good solution to that, and they're cheaper. Do you think that maybe this could be, we could see like a renaissance of projectors, of people wanting to pick some of these up just to have a big screen at home or by the campfire or wherever else they are.
Oh, I mean, 100%, right? But I also think, um, projector technology has gotten so much better that it's finally in a place that people want to buy it, right? So like it's just that time for that product. Like there was a time and a place when like phones were like really the coolest thing ever. And now I make a phone review and like I do my 1000 Toes series that I love, but I mean phones are they're slabs of metal and we know them and we
Yeah.
all have the same ideas about them, and projectors are kind of just this new hot thing. And so who knows what it'll be after that? Maybe it will be finally VR headsets. I think AR is definitely hot to come in next as well.
So after you left The Verge, you started your own channel, and I don't want to go into the sort of the reasons why you left The Verge, which you've talked about a lot, and I'm sure you maybe sick of talking about it. But
I got the elevator pitch down. It's all
yeah,
good.
yeah. But I what I'm interested in is when you left The Verge, you started your own channel. Like the preparation for starting that channel yourself, like how much prep went into sort of doing that, or did you just sort of turn on the camera and start? And what was the kind of the scariest part of that? Just hitting publish on that first video and being like, right, this is me now. This is my channel. This is how I make a living and what I do.
Yeah, I would say if I could do it again, I would do more prep work because I did none other than I know how to make a YouTube video. I'll just start doing that. And I'm very lucky that I do, in fact, know how to make a YouTube video, I think, seemingly so.
You do,
And
yeah.
there was a lot of
That's
people
safe to say.
around me. Cool, thank you. There's a lot of people around me that like wanted to help make that dream happen, which was cool. But yeah, there was very little prep. I did not have videos planned out. It was like every week, okay, what am I going to make this week? And then I would dive in and it was stressful. And it's still very stressful. I think only recently I finally like felt like, okay, this is a viable job. I'm actually going to make enough money next month to pay the bills. Like I'm good. But yeah, for the first 6 months, I would say it was like every week it felt like a new fire started with trying to like make a video, and I'd have to like put that fire out and get the video up. But I am very much someone who, when I have an idea, I just go. And I had this idea and I was just going to like make it happen. And I just went and I just started making stuff. And I feel like I'm still doing that. I do wish that I could like bring my head up above water a little bit more and kind of see the further vision, because I don't feel like I'm there yet. I still very much feel like I live week to week. But it's all been a learning experience for sure.
Yeah.
And a lot of hard work.
How do you find planning what's going to be in your videos? Obviously earlier on it's probably, it was difficult, but like now you're well into it. You say you found it a bit easier. Do you ever sometimes find it difficult to think like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do this week? Or are you really at the point now where you're planned like many weeks ahead now?
It depends. Like it's tech season, so like right now I'm planned many weeks ahead. And then of course something will come in that will like totally change all of those plans. But definitely during the slower seasons it gets tough, like May, June, July was really tough just because there wasn't a lot of new stuff coming out, and I had ideas that I wanted to do, but I wasn't sure they'd like resonate with people. And as soon as I have a sort of what if pop into my brain, it like totally derails me. But yeah, I'm pretty planned ahead now. And I also feel like so much more confident in the edit now. Like I'm very confident at writing my scripts. That was tough. Leaving The Verge, I had like incredible editors that would edit all my scripts. And I would say something like, the 5th gen iPod Nano was the only iPod Nano that had a camera. And I had like an editor who knew every iPod like the back of their hand and could fact check me. And so when I first left The Verge, it was tough to be confident that I was right about things. And I feel a little bit more confident about that now. And because I feel more confident, I can get like way more playful in the edit. So I can like add text elements and sound effects, and like I'm just thinking beyond the facts, which is cool.
you posted a clip of it in your sort of I'm starting my own YouTube channel video. There's a clip of your producer saying Becca be Becca, and I think that's like really stood out to me. Even I watched it again recently and it stands out to me, and I remember watching it for the first time and I was like, that's such a kind of key part of that video, because I think people followed you to YouTube because they liked you as a person as well as what you were actually reviewing. I wonder, like, how do you think about that in terms of like what you're producing, in terms of the need to cover what a product is and what it does versus imbuing the whole video and maybe creating a story out of it that's kind of, makes is Becca be Becca sort of thing?
Yeah. I mean, I'm very fortunate that there's just no way I could make something that wasn't me.
Yeah.
Now, I'm very like confident in who I am, and I'm like comfortable in my skin, and I know what I like. And so naturally everything I do is just going to be within that orbit. I more fear when the time comes that I can bring someone else on to help me. I really fear holding on to the brand then.
Yeah.
Because like everything I do has my little freaking fingerprints all over it, man. Like everything just naturally because I'm doing it. And so I more fear that. But I will say back then, the person who gave me that note was Phil Esposito, who is a very good friend of mine, but was just like such a mentor and continues to be such a mentor and source of inspiration for me. And, back then it was like, there's a camera in front of me. I have to put on an act. And so when he said that, it was like, drop the act. Just be you. You don't need to up it. You don't need to down it. Just be you. And it took me many, many years to learn that. And now I don't even think about it. Now it's just, oh, there's a camera in front of me. There's always a camera in front of me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I think all these things, I get asked a lot, how can I do this better? Or how do you do that so well? And I remember way back when I got a note from somebody, I was also asking those questions. And he said, it's just time. He's like, it's just time. He's like, I wish I had an answer for you, but like, you just get better with time. And it's true. Just keep doing something. And that's how you'll find your voice and your own. And you got to make some real shit first.
Yeah.
And mine's out there. You can go find all of my trash. But you'll get better.
Yeah. I think that's great advice. It seems that the way you approach everything you do, like reviewing products, it's kind of from a, okay, what's good about this, rather than a, okay, what sucks about this. Would that be right in saying that's sort of the way, that's the vibe I get, and it's kind of why I like your stuff. And I was recently watching your Why I Left the Verge video, and also was struck by the fact that you said the first thing you talked about was why you stayed rather than why you left.
Yeah.
Is this, can you talk a bit about that approach to tech? And is this maybe part of your life as well? You're always looking for the positives.
Oh, yeah. I'm a silver linings person. I mean, you could put me in the worst situation and I would 100% find the one good thing. And I would just let that fuel me to take me wherever I need to go. It's just who I am. And so I'm an optimist, right? And so I'm the same with tech. Just like I was saying at the beginning of this podcast, tech can increasingly be used for like horrible things, but they're also powerful tools that could be used to push us forward and to do incredible things and to meet new people. I mean, look, I'm meeting you because we can talk over Zoom and we have great mics at home, right? And so that's just who I am. That's just who I am in life, Find the good and pursue it until the very end.
Is that how you start? Is that your starting point for every review then, is to be like, right, what's good about this? Or is it sometimes tempting to be like, oh my God, this thing is a car crash. How do I find something good to say?
I start every it's funny though. I start every review with like, let me go out and use this thing. And if I start having a good time, that's what I'm going to talk about. And usually I do, because I can have a good time pretty much anywhere. So that's how I start a review. Let me just get using this thing and see what story it tells me. Yeah. But there is some shit out there. Holy cow.
Yeah.
And I usually just don't talk about it because I don't want to spend a week making something that I hate.
Yeah. And you don't want to bum people out, really. I think there's plenty of people on YouTube who are bumming people out about what sucks about this or what sucks about that, really. And
Yeah.
yeah. And like I say, that's why people come to your channel. People come to your channel, I think, to see some good vibes of tech and what you're doing with it outside rather than see you trash a product, really. What is the most surprising thing that you've learned since going solo? There's something you just never expected.
This is a bit on the negative side,
Okay.
but I've had the pleasure of getting to meet so many people that I have watched online and loved, and it has been surprising to learn who people really are. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So sometimes it totally exceeds your expectations. You're like, holy you are a magical human being.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it's like, wow.
You're different than I expected.
That's been the most surprising.
Yeah.
And then also just like the business side of it all. Ugh. I hate it. I hate the business side.
Yeah, because I think you met our first guest on this podcast, Tom Hitchin.
Yeah. Yeah, but Tom's great.
Yeah, exactly. He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
So we got the
What
good guys.
An angel human being.
Yeah.
What an incredible source of light in this world. Seriously.
Yeah.
Oh my God. What a guy.
Shout out to Tom. Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to Tom for sure. Yeah. His light and his energy is like exactly the pastels that he uses in his videos. Like it really it is a perfect match.
We'll be back to find out Becca's everything pick in just a minute. But this is the part of the show where we pause and take a look into the past to talk about a piece of technology that you may not have heard of. Weird, ahead of its time, an abject failure or success. Whatever it was certainly something. Satellite navigation systems have been visible presence in our cars for decades now, guiding drivers to their destinations with turn-by-turn instructions. However, one of the first interpretations of a guided system appeared in the 70s in a 1960s Volkswagen Beetle using, of all things, a cassette tape. Communication satellites had only been active since the early 60s, but these were mainly used for TV broadcasts, telephone calls, faxes, and other experimental things. So using a satellite to navigate around your local neighbourhood was out of the question. Yet in 1971, a prototype was developed in Kent, England to navigate around a neighbourhood just like a GPS system. It was created by combining a modified cassette player with a control unit connected to the car's odometer, the device which measures distance travelled by something on wheels. But how did it work? Well, each route required a specific cassette tape with spoken instructions followed by audio beeps. The length of each beep indicated the distance the car needed to travel before the next instruction played. The control unit under the dashboard detected bleep duration and compared it to the car's actual mileage via the odometer connection. When that distance had been travelled, the next instruction played. A circuit board cartridge calibrated the system for specific tyre sizes, and the whole setup functioned as a simple analog computer, potentially one of the first examples of cassette tapes being used to store computer data. But the device was only demonstrated publicly once, on an episode of the BBC's Tomorrow's World. It's not even clear who originally created the device, and yet, if you stuck rigidly to the directions, it worked perfectly. While it never got the credit it deserved, or even a proper name, this remains a fascinatingly early look at what would eventually be enabled by sat-nav systems and then simply our phones. Check out the show notes for more info and a link to watch the Tomorrow's World video. Okay, let's dive into your last pick, which is your everything pick, the piece of tech that's just really means everything to you and has done for a while.
Yeah, so I picked wireless earbuds at large, meaning any and all of them, because when I was at the Verge, I remember using my first pair of wireless earbuds and being just like blown away at how, similar to the iPod Touch, it felt like the future. No cords and zero latency and noise cancellation. It just felt incredible, and I totally fell in love with it. And I started doing earbud reviews on The Verge, which inherently are the most boring videos you can watch. I mean, it's somebody sitting there with plugs in their ears. And I just totally loved them so much and started creating what I think were compelling videos about them. And it's kind of where like my "Hey Buds" tagline that only the OGs know came from. And I just fell in love with the tech, and I was able to like tell cool stories around them despite their boring small nature. I mean, I don't think they're boring, but you know, when you watch them, they can be. And I still love them to this day. I own so many pairs. I switch between them all the time. I'm wearing the Nothing ear opens right now, which I adore. And I love testing the mics. Yeah, I'm still as in love with them now as I was when I first used them. So I think they're great. And I think, yeah.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that magical experience of first trying. I think there were some Beats Pro ones, the ones that hooked over the top of your ears. And I remember you got so many, and you probably had this too when you first started using them. You get so many questions from people saying like, "Oh, but are you worried you're going to lose them or drop them or that sort of thing?" But because they're not attached to wires, and you just be look, you just have to try them. You can't go. There's no turning back once you try the earbuds. It was big experience.
And I've been using them for, I don't know, 8 years now, and knock on wood, I've only ever lost a case, like had the earbuds, but lost the case once.
Wow.
So
it's a good record.
I guess so. I don't know. Knock on wood.
Knock on wood, exactly.
Just curse myself.
Do you have like a specific special playlist that you use to test the sound in your earbuds?
I should, but no, I do not. Do you?
I have a few, yeah. I have a few, like 6 or 7 tracks, mixture between like some tracks that I really know by Eels, and then some other ones like Daft Punk and some classical stuff like just to sort of test it. I'm sure there's better choices to have, but they're sort of my ones.
No, yours sounds very well-rounded.
Yeah, maybe this is your next project, is to build out your testing soundtrack.
I love it. I love it. Maybe it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have so many playlists. Oh my God. Yes. What is one more? Let's do it.
Yeah. Can we get you to narrow down to an all-time favorite pair of earbuds?
You know, I to give credit where credit is due, like the very first AirPods that, you know, had the really long stems, no noise cancellation. I remember the first week I started at The Verge, my friend Alex was making a video about those, and they really were revolutionary and cool. And so they'll just always, you know, have a place in my heart, rightfully so. Although, I mean, if you use them now, it's like, why are these stems so long? And why is there no active noise cancellation? But a pair that sticks out in my brain because they were weird and different, and I appreciate weird and different, is the Samsung, I call them the Beans, but I don't even know what their real name is. They were like kidney beaned color, and they looked like beans. And I think they were like the Galaxy Buds Live, maybe. Something like that. But they were just different, and I appreciate different. So those stick out as well.
Yeah, I'm going to have to do a Google search for Galaxy Beans and see if I can find a link for this for the show notes.
Oh my God. I'll do it right now. It's definitely going to come up immediately. Galaxy Buds Beans. Yeah, instantly. Yeah, the Galaxy Buds Live. I was right. Oh my God, you can get them for $50 at Walmart. Shoot.
There you go. Well, $50 at Walmart, everyone. Go get your beans. What are your thoughts on what seems to be like an increasing trend with earbuds, where people are now trying to add more to them, like heart rate sensors, AI assistants, maybe even cameras in the future? Should we be keeping earbuds pure, or do you like these additions?
I like heart rate a lot because as like a rock climber, I'm a big like smart ring person. I really enjoy my smart ring. I like my metrics being tracked without a screen being like right in front of my face or any sort of distractions. But when I rock climb, I can't rock climb with a ring on. But like earbuds are something that are very not in the way. Like even a watch gets in the way when you're rock climbing, you know, with your wrist mobility. And of course you could put it on your bicep or whatnot. But so I love that. I love the idea of tracking. But the problem is you're not going to wear earbuds all the time. At least I hope not. So at some point it comes off. Cameras, I mean, the Meta Ray-Bans, right? Like those are earbuds in a sense, and they have cameras.
It's true.
So I don't know. I got mixed thoughts on that one, but I don't know. I will take whatever they want to try. I'll put it that way.
You're open to anything.
Yeah, there's a reason I review the products and I don't make them,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So switching back to your YouTube channel, in summer 2025, you undertook this massive project to bike 450 miles on an e-bike using only solar power to power up the batteries. It's such a great video. If anyone hasn't watched this, you should check it out. Where did that crazy idea come from? You've got to talk us through your thought process here.
I don't know, man. Jonathan, things pop into my head, and I say, why not? And that was one of them. I really have no idea. I've always wanted to bike from New York City to Rochester, which is, where I'm from. Always, since college. I've always been a big biker.
Yeah.
And so I've always wanted to do that. And I was like, okay, how can I do that for my job?
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of scaled it up. And I was like, oh, I'll use an e-bike and I'll power it by the sun. And it took on a life of its own from there. And it was incredible. I met amazing people. There is so much that didn't make it into that video. Oh my God, there is so much. But I would have spent my lifetime editing it if I didn't just put a bow on it. But it was the hardest thing I've ever done. It was grueling. It was hot. By the end of the day, it was during like a really big heat wave. So by the end of every day, like my water jugs, the water inside of them would be like hot, not just warm, like hot. And I would just be like drinking hot water. And I've never biked that far in my life ever. Hell, I've like barely even camped that much. And I was like camping on that trip. It was crazy, but it was so fun. And I did it. And I proved that you can take tech outside.
You did. That was the most outside tech that you had done, I think. It is great.
Yeah.
Such a great video. It seems that you got a lot of help from people as well along the way.
Oh my God.
Did that kind of sort of restore, not so much restore your faith in humanity, but like, give you a sort of reason to be like, oh, humanity's still good. We've still got something.
Dude, that is exactly what I was saying by the end of the trip, was this restored my faith in humanity. Like I was telling all of my friends that. But I mean, every day somebody would come in and save the day. Every day without fail. There was this one, and all of this is the stuff that didn't make it into the video, because the video is about charging and I needed to keep it focused. But like there was one day in Albany where I was like so tired and I was on to my like very last battery and the sun was setting and I just like had enough. Like I had enough and my body hurt. That's the other thing that didn't make it into the video. Like my body just hurt in all of the weirdest places. And I was really like low and down, and this guy just rode up beside me. And he's like, hey, where are you going? And I was like, oh, I'm trying to go here and, whatever. And he's like, oh, well, the trail gets hard up here. Follow me. And he just guided me for like 6 miles. And just to have somebody to follow, I was like, okay, like I can go fast. I can do these things. And he's like, text me when you get to where you're going tonight. And I like texted him and he like took a picture of me and sent it to me. And like, it sounds like nothing, but it was everything at that moment. Yeah. There was other days where like this woman like saw me and she's like, here, take my money. You need money for food. And I was like, I don't need your money. So there's like people trying to give me money. And then instead she gave me all these snacks and like just endless people wanting to help me or hear my story or take a picture or something. And it was so inspiring. And yeah, like you said, it restored my faith in humanity 100%, especially with the state of the world.
Yeah, that's so cool to hear. Do you have any other crazy harebrained schemes cooking up at the moment that are along this sort of same size and scope of this?
Girl, always.
Oh, okay.
I think my next one will involve an exoskeleton.
Right. Okay. Here we go. Now we're talking. This is getting serious. I love it.
So that's pretty much all I got to say about that.
That's a tease. Yeah. Right. Okay. Well, we'll keep an eye out. Keep an eye out for that one. Yeah. One thing, really cool thing you do with the new phones when they all come out each year is you take like 500 pictures with each one. Where did that like idea come from, and why 500 exactly?
Yeah. So it started with 1,000, and I only do 500 when I don't have a lot of time. So I usually try to do 1,000, but during COVID, I was trying to think of ideas, and I'll never forget. I remember it clear as day. I was standing in my little living room, my studio, and I was on the phone with my friend Phil, who's the one that told me Becca be Becca, and we were trying to brainstorm ideas. And I was like, Phil, I have a crazy idea. I was like, next time I get a phone, I'm gonna take 1,000 photos with it. And this sprouted because I was really frustrated that people would review cameras and then they would show us the sample photos, and it was like 5 photos of like things on their desk. How do you know that the camera's good if it never left your desk, you know?
Hmm.
And so I was frustrated by that. And in response, I was like, I'm going to take 1,000 photos. And then I did, and people liked it. And now I'll be doing it till I die.
I mean, 1,000 photos is like as someone who has like a 3-year-old who I'm always taking pictures of, 1,000 photos is still a lot. Like I don't.
Yeah.
That's like way above a level of a like a newish sort of parent. Like, how do you manage to hit that
Yeah.
number?
Yeah. Oh my God. When you finally hit it, it's the greatest feeling in the world. Because by the time I get to 800, I like have what I need, right?
Yeah,
But I like, I need to do it. If I said I'm going to do it, I need to do it. And so what I've found works is I just go do fun stuff. Like, because you're never going to hit that amount by, even if you have a kid at home or a cat,
yeah.
you're never going to hit that much. So I just go do fun stuff. I go to museums. I went to Coney Island last week. I went swimming this weekend, which was very cold. I, just get myself out there and get myself into environments that are pretty. And then I just go crazy.
I mean, as excuses go for doing your work, it's pretty good, right? Go do fun stuff because I need to do my job. That's
Exactly.
that's cool, right?
That's the whole dream. I get to hike and test cameras. I mean, what's
Yeah,
better than that?
that's
So.
great. There's something that you said in a video for someone else. I think it was for LinkedIn, where you said,
Oh my God, you watched
I
that?
watched it. I found
That's
it. Yeah,
awesome.
I was looking around for videos from you that maybe I hadn't seen,
Yeah,
and
that's probably one of them.
yeah, and it's a great video. It's about you
Yeah.
going out and sort of plowing your own furrow, being a
Yeah.
YouTuber. And there's a really great quote in it where you said, I'm going to quote it directly here. It's really easy to see yourself as one and the same with the company that you work at, but there is
Yeah.
a whole big bad world out there. Trust what you can do, push the boundaries of what you can do, and just be curious.
Yeah. Oh my God, I just got chills from myself. That's disgusting. But that's a good quote. Yeah. They must have edited that a little bit. No way that came straight out of my brain.
Yeah, it's a great quote, and it's something that, as someone who's now doing my own thing with a podcast as well, and doing sort of writing
Yeah.
on the side of doing my sort of regular job, which I'm now a freelancer, as opposed to being part of a company, which also happened about the
Cool.
same time you went solo as well, about a month before
Ah,
that.
yeah.
Um,
Hell yeah.
yeah, it really
Congrats.
resonated with me, but I wonder like how you look back on that sort of quote now, because that was a long time ago, and how you see that sort of retrospectively, because you're riding you when you said that, you were obviously riding on a wave of sort of independence and like, yeah, here we go. Do you still sort of feel exactly that way, or do you have anything more to add to that?
I feel exactly the same way. I mean, that's just who I am though. Like I've said a few times now, like I really am just a freight train. And I am just curious. And wherever like the next like cool smell takes me, I just run towards it.
Mm,
And I've been that way my whole life, and it's gotten me where I am. And of course, I have like a lot of privilege. I grew up in the middle class. I'm like a white woman,
mm,
and so I have a lot of like privilege in what I do, and I'm able to pursue these things with some level of ease that a lot of folks aren't. But I do believe that if you want something, endlessly pursue it, take the leap, go do it. And if you fail, you're going to land somewhere else that will hopefully be better and cool than where you were. So yeah, I stand by that. Do you feel that it reigns true a year into what you're doing?
Yeah, 100%. It's the idea of doing my own thing and, pushing that forward has been the best bit about going freelance. It's been the best bit about having my own time and managing that. It's, continues to sort of allow me to inspire myself to do new things like emailing you and interviewing you and all a host of other people, great people I've got to speak to. So with bearing that in mind, how the way you were talking about that, and you talk about yourself as this this freight train of kind of curiosity in a way.
Yeah.
I wonder where you thought you would be now, say back in 2019 before COVID. Where did you think you would be 6 years down the line versus where you are now? Because so many surprising things got thrown in your way. Obviously, COVID completely changed everything. And then when you started to put YouTube videos on the internet, the Verge, said that that's not something that you were able to do. So then that's when you prompted you to sort of push out into doing it solo. How do you think things are different from what you thought of you would be doing back in 2019?
Yeah. I mean, again, I'm not someone that thinks terribly far ahead. So
Right.
I had no idea where I was going to be when, but I will add this tidbit. My good friend David Immel, who's on the Waveform podcast, before I left The Verge, it was, I think, maybe March 2024, we went out to dinner, and I had told him that I was thinking about leaving, and he was like, dude, we're going to have dinner in a year, and you're going to be somewhere completely different. And it was the first time it hit me that was probably going to be true. And when I heard him say it to me, it was kind of scary because I don't think ahead like that. I don't think about the consequence really. But it echoed in my brain. So all I can say is that it has been an incredibly surprising, rewarding journey. And to look back a year ago and see how far I've come is such a reward, which is why I think I enjoy looking back more than I enjoy looking forward. So yeah, that didn't really answer your question at all, but maybe gives you some insight into how little I think ahead.
No, I think that's good. I think it gives you some insight into how shaking things up can really surprise people in a good way.
Yeah, and to be along for the surprise. What the best prize is a surprise, to quote Johnny Depp in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And what a way to move through the world, just knowing that you're focused on something and it's going to take you somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
All right. Well, Becca, thanks so much for chatting with me today. But before we go, so I want to know, is there something in the tech landscape that makes you happy or gives you hope for the future?
Yes. I mean, there's a lot, but what comes to mind is not even something that, I mean, maybe would touch me at some point, but doesn't touch me now. And it is the incredible leaps in accessibility we have made. I look at the Meta Ray-Bans, and yeah, they're cool for that influencer who wants to film people maybe without them knowing, or just always have a camera on their face. And they're cool for people who go on runs and want music, but they're really cool for folks who can't see that well. To be able to have the world told to you, and to be able to understand languages that you don't know, that is huge. Also what AirPods have done for the hearing impaired, it is just monumental, and I think that is so cool.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Becca, thank you so much again for taking the time to chat with me. You are should we say, a freight train of curiosity. I'm going to try and make that catch on.
Yeah. Oh man, I love that. Yeah, it's very fun. And thanks for having me. This was such a joy. I always, I hop on to these podcasts and I always come away feeling so inspired because, we all, journalists and creators, we do so much of our work in our own little silos. And to get to have conversations like this remind me that like none of us are really alone, and there's just this really cool world of nerds and tech folk who want to chat. So thanks for having me. This was a joy.
No worries. Thank you for continuing to inspire all of us. All the best.
Yeah, anytime.
And that's it for First Last Everything. Thanks again to Becca for joining me. You can find links to everything we discussed, as well as where to find both Becca and me online in the show notes. There you'll also find links to our feedback form and my app. Do check it out. This is a Mac Stories podcast. Head to macstories.net/podcast to check out all the other shows. Thanks to the amazing Will Laporte, who does our music, and of course thanks to you for listening. I'll see you next time when my guest will be alt store creator Riley Testert. I hope you'll join me.